The meeting of the Committee on Legislation, Rules, and Policies of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Herndon and Director Jackson have asked to be excused this evening. Director O'Halloran.
Here.
Director Vinoy.
Present.
Chair Zomber.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Oh, and Director Reza has joined us.
Director Reza has
As a
joined
special
us this
guest.
evening as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Pledge of Allegiance was recited at our previous meeting. This meeting is being conducted from the Central Services Building. It's also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website and the broadcast page. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agendas, items, and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page of the MPS website. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si deseas escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Otra vez, 312-626-6799. Introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it to our Secretary, Dr. Owen Moore. It looks like we have no virtual speakers registered tonight. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. And now, given that our focus this year is literacy, we have some help with our messages from one of our youngest readers. Jameson is a first grader at Fernwood Montessori School.
Welcome to tonight's committee meeting. The committee will accept public comments on tonight's agenda items. Speakers may only address the item for which they have registered. Questions from the public may not be answered during the public comment period. Following public comment, the committee will begin its discussion and no additional comments will be accepted. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. Like this, Tamika Jones, Jones. Written testimony will also be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, or requests should be directed to the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. Also, no one other than the members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after the meetings of the board and its committee.
Thank you, Jameson. If you have a child that would like to read for the board meeting, send a message to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Madam Chair, item 1 is work session on policy review, consideration of and possible action on Section 1000 executive officers. The recommendation is that the board determines how it wishes to proceed.
Would the Office of Board Governance please present the item? Oh, I'm sorry. Do any, you just did. Do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Yep.
She's so confident.
We have no speakers in the audience tonight.
Okay, we will begin our work session. Do any committee members wish to set aside any of the policies in the Section 1000 packet for separate consideration? No?
1101. We would like to set aside policy 1101, administration organization plan.
Okay. And then I would like to set aside each of the roles of, so 1102.01, 1102.02, and 1102.03. And then I think, let me just make sure, I think that was it. Actually, let's do 1102. Yes, I need 1102 as well. Board appointed officials. Okay. Madam Secretary, what's the first item set aside?
The first item set aside is policy number 1101. This is the administrative organization plan. And just a quick note that in looking over it, we noticed that the offices weren't all listed. They're in the org chart, but the Office of Family and Community Engagement and the Office of the Chief of Operations are not listed in 1101. So we just wanted to make sure that that was included to match the administrative organization plan.
Okay. Do committee members have any comments or questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, what's the next item set aside?
Oh, we would need a motion on that one?
Oh, we're doing one by one. Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee with respect to the item? Director O'Halloran.
I move that we direct Office of Board Governance to update 1101 with the major offices to reflect the organizational chart as presented in another area of this board packet for consistency's sake.
Yes, and I'm guessing that you're recommending approving the policy.
Yes, with those changes.
With those changes. All right.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve policy 1101 as attached with additions to the organization offices to include the Office of the Chief of Family and Community Engagement and the Office of the Chief of Operations. Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Vinoy.
Aye.
And Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Okay. Madam Secretary, what is the next item set aside?
The next item set aside is policy 1102, board appointed officials, and this was set aside by Director Zomber.
I just had a quick question, just for clarity before we approve it. Under the duties of the board clerk, chief officer, letters E and F. E shall serve as the special education ombudsperson, and F shall serve as the charter school liaison. Would the Office of Board Governance just be able to share more about what each of those duties entails?
Yes, thank you. For the special education ombudsman, we learned that there was a legal case a few years ago where in the resolution of it, the board had to adopt an ombudsperson for special education to serve as another layer, that if somebody felt like they needed to get advice or more guidance or bring an issue forward, they could. So at the time, the board had appointed the district clerk to serve that function. And so that is part of the job description and has been since that time. And then on the charter school liaison, our office does serve as a point of just clarification, support between the Office of Contracted Schools and Administration. Proposals actually come through our office for new proposals. We also help to coordinate the board's participation on charter reviews and things like that, and help to coordinate some of the legal conversations with our city attorney's office.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. Do any committee members have other comments or questions? Would anyone like to make a motion? Director O'Halloran.
I move that we approve policy 1102, board appointed officials as attached.
If there's no further discussion, the secretary will please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve policy 1102 as attached, Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Vinoy,
Aye.
and Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, so the next 3 items, can we talk about the 3 items together because I have the same question on all 3 of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So for the role of the superintendent, role of the board clerk, role of the senior director, I noticed there's a reference to giving feedback on performance to their staff, but then some of the policies use the term performance evaluations. I'm just wondering if the rest of the committee feels that it's more clear to say performance evaluations everywhere where we're referencing performance evaluations, so that we're setting that really clear expectation that all employees in the district are going to be evaluated annually. Because right now, feedback on performance isn't as clear as what that means. And I know as a board, we're trying, to model that and do our part in making sure that we're evaluating and setting goals with our direct reports. So I don't know if any of the executive officers have thoughts on a possible change to changing the language. I can show you specifically, it is, if you look at, let me see if I can find one where it's, just so people know in the context, in case I'm reading it differently. Give me 1 minute. If it's feedback. Okay, so if you look at, let's take the role of the superintendent policy, 1102.01, and you go to F1. It says, which provide for at least annual feedback on performance. I mean, I think we mean a true evaluation, but I think feedback to me could mean other things. I don't know if other people read it that way. Director O'Halloran?
I think it's good to use consistent words. So if the expectation is that feedback means evaluation, then we should use evaluation. I would just be curious. And I hope that is the expectation then. But I would be, just open to hearing from any of the executive officers if they have a difference of opinion before we make a motion.
Mr. Chasen?
Yeah, I think feedback is ambiguous, and certainly in policy language, anything that removes ambiguity is the right call. That's 1/3 of the perspective maybe you want to hear from.
Do any other executive officers?
Director
Dr.
Zomber,
Cassellius?
members, I believe that we should use the word evaluation. I think everybody deserves to have a yearly evaluation.
Okay.
And you can include feedback in that,
Yeah.
or you can include peer feedback. I'm certain that Mr. Maniscalco is going to design a good performance evaluation for our employees. I should note, though, that some of our employees currently are getting on a 3-year cycle. So it may be that we have terms like informal evaluation and formal evaluation. I'm not sure what will be designed, but there may be a formal evaluation every 3 years for some employees, And then every year, there's an evaluation that's done, and that would be clearly described. But we'll come back to you when we have that process all cleaned up and ready to go. But for
Dr.
this,
Owen
for
Moore?
policy, I would encourage you to use common language.
Okay. Dr. Owen Moore?
I am always a big fan of the common language. I was just noticing in the sentence stem on this one that it's under staff treatment under F. And so I think the sentence is dealings with staff and volunteers will be humane, fair, and dignified, and accordingly, the superintendent shall. And I think the annual feedback is with regards to that. And it does note in staff competency under H that there shall be at least annual evaluations, which shall include clarity of expectations, feedback, and a plan for continual improvement. So I think that it's also humane, fair, and dignified to provide annual evaluations, so either way is fine.
Director Benoit?
Sorry, it's also listed under D that any formal or informal evaluation or performance, it lists it under D as well.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? No?
I guess
Would you like to make a motion? Director O'Halloran?
I was just going to ask a
you
question.
can ask a
Since
question.
you had pulled these aside for discussion and raised the initial concerns, if we, given that there is discussion of annual evaluations in other places, I don't know if you have any strong feelings. Otherwise, I can.
Okay, as long as there's the understanding that the intent is we're evaluating staff regularly and not just giving them feedback.
Yeah, feedback is a very vague term, but so maybe yes. With that concern, I would move approval of 1102.1, 1102.2, and 1102.3, provided we update areas of ambiguity such as feedback to evaluation.
So feedback on performance would read performance evaluations.
Yes, please.
Madam Secretary, do you have the motion, okay?
I believe so. On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve policies 1102.01, 1102.02, and 1102.03, while providing that language of feedback is changed to reflect performance evaluation. Yes. Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Vinoy.
Aye.
And Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, what is the next item set aside?
That was the last item set aside.
Okay. If there are no more items from the packet, I will accept a motion on the balance of the recommendations. Does any member so move? Director Benoit.
I so move.
If there's no further discussion, the secretary will please call the roll.
On Director Vinoy's motion to approve the balance of the policies in Section 1000, Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Vinoy,
Aye.
and Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item 2 is work session on policy review, follow-up and possible action on draft policies 155.2 through 155.6 on the charges of the board's committees. The recommendation is that the revised drafts be adopted as attached.
Okay. Do any members of the public wish to make comments?
We do not have any speaker slips on this item.
Okay. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I'm sorry. Would the Office of Board Governance like to present the item?
Just noting that these were held because the board wished to reconsider how it structures certain committees. The board approved revisions to Board Rules 2.05 and 2.10, which codify the structure of the committees on family and community engagement and on student achievement and school innovation. And these draft policies now align to the current committee structures approved by the board.
Thank you. Mr. Chason?
Yeah, I was gonna, maybe, since I can't make a motion, but I was gonna ask maybe that we set aside 0155.6 Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel.
Okay, we could set that aside. Or are we taking this, we're taking these items together because we're not in a work session, right? So now we would just talk about it?
Yeah, we would just talk about it.
So you could, if you want to talk about it now, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. With respect to Section D, subsection 1B, it's related to probationary appointments. The read that I have in this language is that this is something the district did do years ago. When I looked at the proceedings of the board, the last time the board saw this information come to it per what exists here in the policy, and it exists in the existing policy as well, was back in the board calendar year 2009, 2010. And I don't want to propagate policy language forward that we're already, not doing. I wasn't sure if maybe there was a state statute that had been updated that maybe eliminated that requirement. There was rather lengthy reporting on this point previously, but we haven't seen it in more than a dozen years. So anyway, maybe OBG has a, or not.
Office of Board Governance have a,
Madam Chair, members, Mr. Chason, this question has come up before, actually by my predecessor, who had been with the district for over a decade, and we researched it up and down, and we could find no evidence that explained why probationary appointees stopped coming to the board. I can confirm there doesn't appear to be any statutory reason to bring them, so if this section was eliminated, I don't think there'd be any problem with eliminating that section.
do any of the executive offices have a recommendation? And if you think the probationary appointments should be included? Mr. Chason?
Yeah, to be sure, I don't want to set policy language that is immediately, not compliant. If, certainly at another point, if we identify a compelling reason, we're going to add it, but and per Ms. Quala's standpoint, I couldn't find anything in statute that compelled it either, so that may have been a holdover, something, but I don't see the true value add on it in its current form.
Thank you for flagging it. Do committee members have any other questions on this, on the AFP? No. Mr. Chason, do you have any other items in this one that you wanted to mention?
Chair Zomberg, no, thank you.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran?
Before we move on, I did have a question on the new description of the family and community engagement. So it says that the chair has the flexibility to structure engagement sessions, in it that the monthly meetings will be used for business matters, community engagement, or a combination thereto. And I was just wondering if there should be any formal decision on frequency of the interval. So, and maybe that's a question for the chair of that committee, but, if next year there's a different chair and that chair decides to pivot and hold engagement sessions exclusively, is that an issue? So I just was wondering if there needs to be a minimum or a maximum amount that are set on either of those with that interval, or if we're just comfortable with the flexibility.
Office of Board Governance?
Madam Chair, members, what you have before you here is what you just currently adopted. If you wanted to amend this for when we ultimately adopt the packet that we're working with Neola, you certainly could. We just wanted to make sure that what's presented to you tonight is the practice that's currently in force.
So this is the board docs format of the existing policy?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do other committee members have questions or comments? No? What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran.
Okay, so bear with me. I'm going to move approval of this here packet of policies with the recommendation that on the Committee of Accountability, Finance, and Personnel, D1B would be removed as it is not current practice and does not seem to be required by any state statute.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, oh, I'm sorry, no, you made a motion. So if there's no further discussion, the secretary will please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to adopt the revised drafts as attached while recommending that the AFP committee policy, section D1B, be removed to reflect current understanding of law and practice.
Yes.
All right. Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Vinoy,
Aye.
and Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item 3 is work session on policy review, follow-up and possible action on draft policy 9800.01, recognition of veterans as classroom volunteers. The recommendation is that the revised draft policy be adopted as attached.
Would the Office of Board Governance have any information to present?
Yes, the attached draft policies were held because the board wanted more clarification on whether it was necessary to have a separate policy for volunteers who are veterans. The Neola team has clarified that this policy does not create a separate category of volunteers. All volunteers are subject to the same requirements. This policy is to align to Wisconsin statutes that require the district to work with the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs to recognize veterans for their service to our schools after they have given their time. So the policy title has been revised to add this clarification.
Thank you. Do committee members have any questions, comments, or would like to make a motion? Director Benoit?
I move to adopt policy, is it the 9800.01?
Yep. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Vinoy's motion to adopt policy 9800.01 as attached, Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Vinoy,
Aye.
and Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item 4 is work session on policy review, follow-up and possible action on draft policy 9121, sports and special events news coverage. The recommendation is that the revised draft policy be adopted as attached.
Okay. Does the Office of Board Governance have any information to present?
This was another one where the committee held action on this policy to clarify whether reference to live streaming should be added. It has been determined that streaming, whether live stream or a recording, uses the internet, so the draft policy has been revised to reference transmission by radio or television or the internet.
Okay. Do members of the committee wish to make comments, ask questions, or make a motion? Director O'Halloran?
I move approval of draft policy 9121 as attached.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to adopt policy 9121 as attached, Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Vinoy,
Aye.
Chair Zomber.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on this meeting's agenda.
As a reminder, a special meeting of the board will begin shortly. There being no further business before us, this meeting is adjourned.